Hey everybody, today we are starting in the library, taking off right from when we saw everything go wrong. Inside the library, we have Oliver laying on the floor with this dark ectoplasmic figure standing next to him. And a cord trails off from this ooze back to Oliver's body on the floor. The window shattered as both Everston and Voss were tossed. And we begin here. So the dark entity is in the room. Nora is staring him down. The spacing is exactly like we see on the screen. What does Dark Oliver do?
The head kind of bends and turns, looking around. As if trying to get a feel for its surroundings before its head slowly turns back to look at Oliver's body. And then it kind of tilts in perplexity as it begins shuffling closer towards it, an arm kind of reaching for something. There's a moment where the entity bends down, still stutter step, and he's tugging on something that's around Oliver's neck.
Okay, well, we're going to start there, Nora. What are you doing with this odd scene of this ooze-like creature?
Well, right now I'm more concerned with the ghostly visage who had shouted for all of us to leave the manor.
Where? I'll bring her into the scene.
Is she still here?
Yeah, so she is standing closer to the fireplace now, and you see her raising her hands, and the windows reforming after the fire blast tossed them out of the room, and her scream, and she kind of waves her hands over, and the glass starts to and build back, and then the shutters slam outside. And she turns around and disappears, and reappears in the doorway here to your left, like facing outside, and she is staring outside, and she has one hand on the glass, and the burning-headed woman has her hand on the glass on the opposite side.
Huh, okay. Like they're looking for each other, or at each other, or...
It's hard to tell because there's no facial expression on the woman. It's really hard to tell what they are doing. They just both have their hands touching the glass, and that's really all you can... all you can tell. There's no expressions. Her face is blurred as a spirit in the room right now. Her bloated self was there that is now kind of slimmed back down. But you can't tell facial features. It's fuzzy. And the other woman's on fire, so it makes it real difficult.
Right, I mean...
starting to make facial features is the ooze.
Right, I meant more like, are their hands in the same place on the window?
Exact
like, is mirror?
Same
Okay.
place. Yeah. They are exact same place touching.
Okay. Mirrored positions. Well, apologies to Oliver and his newborn ooze. I think my biggest concern is trying to calm down the haunt in this area, because if she snaps again and tries to force us out again, Oliver might be stuck here by himself with nothing but his dark shadow going after him. So I noticed the salt that Voss is pulling out to try and take care of the corpse that I had pointed to, and I'm going to make my way over there to grab it.
So as you start shuffling over,
so I'll just move and then tell me to stop or whatever.
Yep. No, you can move over, do it all the way. Dark Oliver would definitely see the two women at the window, out of the corner of your eye, and there is a longing towards the woman in white, but there is some spite, deep spite, towards the burning woman outside.
Okay.
Anything that Dark Oliver wants to do is you kind of get the scene. You can see the two women kind of gliding across, and there's like windows across that whole wall as they're making their way back towards the front where the images are now. And they kind of slide past Nora, pay her no heed as they're kind of sliding across and putting their hands in the glass, walking like you would drag your hand down like a wall or lockers in high school. They're kind of dragging their hands together in sync until they hit the corner window.
So there's with Nora kind of turning her focus to the body and gathering the salt.
Mhm.
Very little visual cues are given, but there's the snapping of a chain. Very light, very delicate, like a necklace. And then the hissing of steel being drawn from a sheath. And then there's a thunk as the tip of the saber just drops into the wood, and it begins getting dragged slowly towards the door as it mirrors the pace of the smoke-headed lady.
Okay. Nora, you're looking around the haunt, getting yourself an idea of the surroundings. Are you assuming you're grabbing the salt? That's the game plan?
Yeah, my game plan was to grab the salt and complete what Voss was trying to do before he got shunted out.
Okay. So when you get to the salt, there's the table there that is scorched. There's a body there that's that like whole front half is burned up, right? That is still intact. You can get a glimpse of both Voss and Everston out the window for a second as the shutters kind of flutter. The body that is over top of the table, being scorched and burnt up. You can also see, now that you're over here and able to investigate, you can see that there's a bench on each side, kind of like you were sitting in a booth, right?
Okay.
And then there are scorched bodies in each one. One is absolutely singed to a crisp, and only thing that's left is like the lower half. The other one had their arms up, and the face is scorched, and there's no, like, part of the head's kind of missing on it. You, being an investigator, follow the sight line for everything, and over on the wall next to where the women are, there is the imprint, or I should say, the silhouette of the three burnt figures on the wall from the blast. In full, like a mural on the opposite wall from you.
Okay.
Oliver, as you start to move, Dark Oliver does, those silhouettes on the wall start to take shape. The pieces that are missing from the blast, the soot starts to form. Nora, you would notice that as well as you're grabbing the salt, almost like they are, I don't want to say materializing, but like the after image is beginning to move from the blast. So Nora, you grab the salt, and you start looking around. I'm assuming, like you said, you want to finish this ritual. Before you make your roll, I'm going to give you some key pieces of, like, only Nora would notice in the room.
Okay.
All right. One, on the table, under the body, there is a book.
Okay.
Intact. The body must have covered the blast. Now that you are here, that body that is burned up, it's not the front of them. They got hit and turned and fell forward. It's so old, without like moving some things, you're not going to be able to do much. You have to investigate the body. But you believe instead of her being bent backwards, it's actually the other way. She's actually bent forward over it. The fireplace itself is scorched to a crisp. The brick is even cracked from whatever this explosion was. There is a single vase on the mantle that is intact, and there is no soot, no ash, no damage.
Okay.
On a grander scale in the room, there are blast marks from where the fire has hit, but there are a few marks on the wall, like the silhouettes that are forming out of the ash. And then where an old bookshelf used to be, there is a perfect outline from the fire. And there's a clean wall where that bookshelf should be. But there's no bookshelf. So think of it like you know how you move furniture and that part of the wall isn't sun-baked or stained because something blocked it? It looks like that, but that bookshelf is not there. The last piece I would say is the rug that is on the ground is half scorched. And you do notice some marrings on the floor that are newer than the surrounding damage and burn marks. Like somebody has fucked with the floor or some of the wood paneling that is on the floor. So those are the big key pieces I would say you would notice right now.
Okay.
Oliver, did you move the dark version of you where you want to be on the map?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
because I'm assuming the smoke lady is going to be right here as she's walking down along the window, right?
Yes. There's one here and one's here. They stop at this window, they vanish, and they reappear at this one. So I'll slide her down a little bit so she's not in the way for you, but we'll do this. I'll put her here. And you know that they're both there, but there's space in there. And they're kind of, this is all wall here. And then this goes to glass again. So Nora, when he passes by, instead of it being freezing cold like it normally is, it gets warm in the room and hot. Like you're sitting next to a fireplace. And you can actually see the ectoplasm of this creature bubbling. Nora, we're going to start with the roll. I think this would make the most sense right now. Do you want to go with occult, or are you going to start a specific investigation for the room? How would Nora handle this?
Seeing that this Dark Oliver, I don't know if he seems to be aggressive, but I don't have 10 minutes to start a new investigation.
You already started one for the Manor, though, correct?
Yeah, I did.
You can just continue that one.
Okay, I'll continue with that one then. That being the case, he's not really a part of my investigation right now. I feel like there's a little tiny corner of Nora that's like, I can't believe it. Even when he's passed out, he's still messing with my crime scene. And, I mean, but am I wrong, though? Because here he is, walking all over the place, scuffing up the floor.
Oh, God. So what would you like to start with then? Do you want to do perception or occult to finish the ritual that do you want to look around for anything I did not describe, or do you want to use the salt to finish what Voss started?
I think I'm going to use occult to finish what Voss started, because like I said, if this woman right here gets to the bottom, something sets her off, whether it's me messing around or this dark clone of Oliver messing around or whatever, I don't need her to try and shunt us out again, because like I said earlier, my biggest concern is either me being shunted out and Oliver being stuck by himself, both of us being shunted out and not being able to get back in for a while. And I don't really know if our Oliver gets shunted out, but this thing doesn't get resolved before then, what type of effect that's going to have. So I want to try and stabilize the situation, so even if we're trapped here, we're at least trapped together.
Okay. And I'm going to ask Dark Oliver something before we go into a roll here. Oliver, as you see on the corner of your eye, Nora doesn't look normal. You are seeing things from an ethereal perspective. She is kind of a small floating light to you. And the soul seems to move up and down through this makeshift shimmer of a body. Like you're seeing the soul of Nora move around inside. You've never seen anything like this. It doesn't look like the other spirits that are in here. It doesn't look like a normal ghost orb moving around. It's not you interacting with another being. You also see when she reaches and grabs the salt and picks it up, there is a spark of anger and a moment of danger. Like that salt could cause serious harm to you finally getting to materialize and find your family. And that duo feel of both of you is pretty important, and her finishing this could cause an issue. But before Nora rolls and we go into the conversation between these two, which I think is going to turn into a heated debate, we're going to do our intro, and then we'll actually do our introduction. And hey, everybody. So we set this up a little different this time. I obviously have Oliver here, Alan, and then we have Nora here, who is Kelly. We are going to be playing this scene out in probably 30 to 45-minute fashion, maybe an hour. The goal here is for Nora to solve this crime scene? Haunt scene?
Haunt scene.
The haunt scene. And Oliver is going to be playing Dark Oliver today because the real Oliver is laying on the ground almost dead. If you remember, last time he spent a hero point to stabilize, and shit happens. He failed to save. Twice. Yeah. All right, so Nora, we left you off with getting ready to make a roll. What did you decide on using?
I was going to use Occult to try and finish Voss's work with setting up the ritual.
Let's start with finishing Voss's work.
Okay.
So you have salt. I believe this was table salt. It wasn't anything special.
No, I think he said. I thought he said he was getting the holy salt.
Oh, it is the holy salt. Oh, you're right. You're right. It is the holy salt. All right, so you're using holy salt.
We wanted that smoke to go away, and then instead they got blown out the house.
Yeah. Holy salt.
All right. Occultism.
Give me that occult roll, and then I will let Dark Oliver react to this if you make it or break it. I got 24. Right now. Okay. Would you like to use a hero point, or are you sticking with it?
I mean, I got a 15 on the die, and with this being my investigation, I don't really want to risk spending a hero point because I feel like that's a really good roll. Like, there's a chance I could get higher, but I'd rather save the hero point for when things go poorly.
And you're leveled to 3, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So as you are looking around at what Voss put there, you see that there's the salt. You actually see the beginning of the body breathing bent over the table. As you start salting the corpse and putting a salt around it, the breathing gets hectic. Oliver, you don't feel anything as you on the ground, but you start breathing very similar to the corpse. And Dark Oliver, you get a sharp spike of pain as she actually makes the first check for the haunt. By 2.
There's the sound of a sword dragging.
Where are you moving to? I'll put us back on our battle map.
As Oliver, his black head turns to face Nora. That saber drags and comes closer. And he doesn't say anything quite yet, but the saber kind of points and raises to the salt.
Does this Dark Oliver look like it can actually be reasoned with, or no?
There's just the rough features and outline of Oliver's head shape, but there's no mouth, there's no eyes, and there's no nose. It's just a black, smooth face.
But I get the feeling that it's going to either try and stop me or try and interrupt the ritual.
Yeah, it looks agitated.
Okay. It looks like Oliver, but Oliver's over there bleeding out. So this must be something from the house that's using him or its shape, because I saw the spirit come out of the wall and basically sack him. So yep. I don't if I continue and it interrupts me, that's going to cause some issues. I don't necessarily want to harm it either, because I'm afraid that if I harm this, it'll harm Oliver, who's dying. So
now, I will say that the DC to start this haunt and doing stuff was to give Nora a scale was a 22.
Okay.
Starting this up because you're starting to learn things.
Right.
If you carry a conversation with Dark Oliver while you're doing, like basically trying to talk and do it at the same time, You are going to increase the DC. It's going to be harder because you're doing 2 actions at once. Actually, trying to solve a haunt is a 2-action roll. Conversations are 1, so you can kind of play it and talk to him and still try to solve at the same time. But if you move and then try to also talk, you're not going to be able to do a solving time frame, and the DC will get more difficult because you're basically, it would be like doing a ritual and pausing it.
Right. I mean, so my options are basically to continue salting while talking to him and trying to get him to not be agitated, or just ignore him and try and finish it off regardless.
Yeah, or finish this one off. So right now you've made 1 of 3 checks. Once you make 3 checks, you will satiate the haunt to where you can just focus on him.
Okay. I think that's what I'm going to try and do then. I have a feeling that...
By the way, the DC for the ritual doesn't go up. A conversation with him gets more difficult.
Right.
I should specify that.
I mean, I could try talking to him, but I don't... So the conversation with him goes higher, not necessarily the DC, like you said, not the DC to do the salt check. Okay.
It's like trying to hold a conversation while working.
Right. I don't even know if he'd be able to understand me, to be honest.
Good thing to test.
So I guess I would start with you seem yeah, I'll try it. Worst case scenario, I fail and things go horrible. But I turn to this dark amalgamation and just say, I don't know what's happening to you, Captain Hastings, but you need to let me do this so that I can make sure that you are all right. I'm trying to ensure that we don't get removed from this library a second time.
There's the head tilt from Dark Oliver's head, like a dog listening to a noise that it can't register, but it's interested in.
Then I will repeat myself in hollow.
It kind of tilts to the other side, and it sounds more intentive, but it still shakes its head.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. So I think I'm trying to use diplomacy because I'm trying to like be calm, be cool.
Yep.
Hey, man, I'm trying to do this for the both of us. I'm not trying to...
I have Dark Oliver's DCs, so go ahead and give me your action roll of diplomacy to keep it calm.
Okay.
What languages does Nora have?
Cadraic, Hollow, High Cadraic, Deep Speech, and Vulgar.
Does she try to cycle through her languages when she speaks to him, or does she just try the 2?
I mean...
Alan, I sent you a message as well in Roll20.
I guess, like, she could, but I feel like... I think she's just trying a couple of languages to start, and then if those don't take, then yeah, she would cycle through, but...
He focuses when you speak High Cadraic.
Okay. Then in High Cadraic, again, I repeat myself, like, please remain calm. I'm trying to resolve the situation so that we do not get shunted from the library again. Because if we do, or only one of us makes it, I can't guarantee that we'll be able to come back to help you. And I'm being like kind of vague because I don't really know what it wants, but by saying like, we can't be here to help you, I'm hoping that is better than, so we can get you out of here. So that's kind of where I'm going with that.
Yeah. So you're trying to appeal to the Oliver part of the creature. Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm trying to appeal to the self-preservation of whatever this is, and that's why I'm being like kind of because I don't know. I guess it'd be Oliver. It's more like if this goes off again, we could both be shunted out of the library.
Yeah.
And so part of that is to Oliver, and then saying if that happens, I depending on what happens, I might not be able to help you. So part of it is trying to appeal to the survival instinct, and then the other part of it is trying to appeal to Oliver. Because if we get shunted out of the library and that thing gets shunted out of the library too, whatever it needs to do, it potentially can't do it anymore.
All right.
That's where Nora is trying to go with it anyway.
No, that's totally good.
I'm going to spend my hero point on that.
Okay.
It was not a good roll. It was not a good roll. That one was better. I will take a 20.
Okay.
Not natural, but...
And you are trying to talk to Oliver, right? Oliver, what is Oliver's DC for wisdom? It's 10 plus your wisdom bonus. Or, sorry, wisdom. Yep. 10 plus your will bonus.
It is 17.
All right. So I will say she definitely has stopped you. You can use Oliver, that part of him, to react, or the spirit on this one, but you definitely would not be hostile at this moment.
So there's kind of like the ease of the shoulders. A thin line slowly forms across the ooze. And he raises whatever's in his left hand and presses it to his throat, and you realize it's a golden oval-shaped locket that kind of sinks into the ooze of his throat. And when it sinks in, there's like a sigh of relief. If you continue on the path that you're currently treading, I will not be able to see my family again.
With my perception DC of 19, is this creature lying to me?
Are you? That would make the check, so...
No.
Okay.
I will say that there's a sense of duality there, like kind of like a half-truth.
Okay.
Nora, what's your intelligence?
Intelligence is 16.
You can tell that it is... half-truth is a good term for it. There's not a lie in there. There's just part of them is being honest.
Okay.
So with that, are you going to continue the ritual with your other two actions?
Yeah, because if we solve this haunt, it's not going to be able to see its family anyway. I mean, I hate to be that blunt about it, but I think that's kind of what I say. Like, if I don't continue and something goes off and we both get shunted, you won't be able to see them anyway. I think is kind of what helps put it over that initial edge of the conversation.
Okay.
Because it also makes sense. Like, if this thing wants to talk to its family, but it gets shunted out with me when this ghost loses it can't do anything regardless. So
Right. That makes total sense to me. So let's see what you got here, Nora.
I will take that 27.
Really?
I did.
Okay,
yeah, I got an 18 on the die.
One. You have learned something. That would take it to a 20. It's not a crit, but it is a success.
Okay.
So as you salt the corpse, salt the area, and you start investigating the body to figure out the next step to really break down the haunt, what you realize is that the person who bent over the table when they went forward, the concussion blast snapped their neck. That's why she's facing upwards, even though her chest is downwards. So it's twisted, and from rigor mortis, it just kind of pulled the head into a backwards facing direction, almost like an owl. But under the table, her hands are clasped, and she is holding a letter in her hands underneath that did not burn when the fire went.
Okay.
when a place is haunted, a lot of times the spirit is tied to objects or to locations. You have, I mean, as much as this is protected in a death grasp, there's a good chance that is tied to the haunt as you are going through the rituals, saying the proper things, looking for stuff. Do you attempt to pull the letter out from the body's grasp?
I think so with that check, did I complete at least the salting part?
Salting's done.
Do I? Okay. With that being the case, then yeah, I would try and gingerly try and get the letter. I don't know if you...
No check required.
Need me to do anything? Okay.
Nope. So as you grab the letter and pull it, it is in a black envelope. The seal on it is a G, like a monogram G. The wax is dripped, but it's still intact in her hand. And when you pull the letter out, the wax seal kind of is sitting in her hand separately, like she's holding the letter in that. The letter is folded shut. On the front of it, there is faint ink. You can kind of make it out, but you would actually have to do some rubbings to actually get the name because the ink is faded and worn. I will say, Dark Oliver, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to this. When she grabs the letter, there is definitely a shift of importance. That is something you feel you hold very dear to you.
Hand comes up to touch the locket.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in time, the hand that was on the hilt of the saber has fused with the saber. Then he raises the hand to point the sword towards the paper, and he says, I exchanged many letters. I felt love in each one, but the last.
Okay.
Are you making any physical hostile movements towards her, or are you still pretty calm with that?
There's a kind of a tense desperation that like oozes in the voice, and I would say there was definitely a pull that draws a step forward.
Okay.
I think, wow, this is potentially a little ruthless. I think Nora is going to use Dark Oliver's desperation to try and get an advantage.
Okay, what would you like to do with that?
Well, here's where she's thinking. So she doesn't really know what the letter says. She would have to take some time to do some rubbings and figure it out. The dark spirit wants the letter, but it's faded. And now she's not quite sure if he can read it or not. So she's going to say, well, the ink on here is pretty faded. And I am skilled at investigating. Perhaps we could look at this letter together and see what it says.
No roll required. What would the spirit want to do?
Because Nora's not like, I'm going to hide this so you can't destroy it. Like, she figures if it's out in the open, they can both figure out what's going on. So.
Yep. Smart.
Yes. I would like that.
All right.
Okay.
That's going to buy you some time, Nora. You'll be able to actually look at the letter, do a rubbing if you want, or if you want to fake that shit and you don't give a fuck about this thing and you're just going to do the proper piece. To get rid of a spirit, you have to find out why. Either make it feel at rest, or you need to burn a body with the objects that are keeping it anchored here. That is the normal way you get rid of a spirit, but you have not identified the type of spirit this is. So you could burn it, and that might be the wrong route.
Right. So I feel like this is probably a pretty good distinction for Nora. On her cases where where she's been hired to help put spirits to rest, she doesn't try and do anything shady. She's not. She's not going to be like, trying to trick them unless it's absolutely necessary, like for the safety of her and the people that are involved in whatever she's working on. So up until things get really dangerous, she will not try and trick this spirit. She will like try and find a place to clear off a workspace.
Okay.
Take the rubbings, write down notes, and have the spirit like take a look at it as well.
Okay. So as you take in the room, the white spirit that you saw earlier that was really big on the ceiling and kind of bloated is thinned out. She looks similar to the one that you see on the lower right. She has moved behind Dark Oliver. She's not moving in sync with him, but is definitely staring at Dark Oliver from behind. The creature with the fire head outside, its face is now pressed against the glass in the lower set of windows over here. Its face is pressed, and it's bumping it over and over again. And you can see, like, you know how when glass ages, you start to get, like, bubbles and warping in it? You can see that beginning to happen on those glass doors.
Okay.
With that said, you grab a bench, grab a chair, something that did not get destroyed in the fire, set it down so that you can open the letter and make your rubbings and work on it. What skill would you like to take? Because this is something that's actually going to take some skill to do without damaging. It's similar to an archaeologist doing a dig and not damaging something they found.
I want to say society.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying it is because I actually, for whatever reason, have it pulled up on my screen right now. And society trained actions are decipher writing and create forgery. And I figure if you're trying to create a forgery,
yeah, it makes sense.
Not that I'm trying to make one, but like I'm trying to treat it with the same amount of care so I can duplicate it so I can read it.
Sure. Makes sense
I would say that while Nora's handling the paperwork and making that copy, there's two slits that form on the face of Oliver, or Dark Oliver. And when they open in a sockets that are kind of filled with this milky, cloudy smoke that coalesces into just opaque orbs. And there's a shape of a nose that begins to fill in the rest of Oliver's face.
Okay.
Now, as it's filling in, does it actually look like Oliver, or does it look like somebody else?
It looks like Oliver.
Okay. All right. Society roll.
Boy, because you're doing this, I gotta grab a little bit of information here. All right.
It's an 18 because this is still part of my investigation.
Okay. And you said at what?
18.
Okay.
For society.
So as you start rubbing it, being delicate with it, making sure you don't damage it, the front of the envelope says where you would have like who it's from and the address. The address says Moldavia,
okay,
which is nowhere near here. Moldavia is up in the northwest mountains. It is literally a city that has almost like ski lifts, but they're gondolas that travel between peaks in the mountains. The people there are used to the cold weather. They are a very dark humored group of people because they live in this climate, and they maybe see warm weather a month or two out of the year, but most of the time it's rain and snow and mudslides. They're very hardy people. They're very durable, and they take family very seriously.
Okay.
So that's where it's from. The name on it says Niku, N-I-C-U, Goin,
okay.
G-O-I-A-N, Niku Goin. I would say you got an 18, you would get the name. To Vanda Goin, V-A-N-D-A. That's what the outside of the envelope says. Is you open it and you slide it out. It is old, three-fold, a vertical fold piece of paper, and you unfold it, and pieces of the paper start to crumple in the corners, but you get enough that you can read it. The gist of the letter that you can read, the parts that you start to read, say that I'm sorry you have been in Merrifield for the last 10 years, and the last 2 have been very difficult. Your son and I miss you. We miss you to a point that we can no longer do this. It is not healthy for me. It is not healthy for you. And the bottom part of the letter is all like, it looks like me, it was water stained, and it's really hard to make that out. Unless you got a critical success, you weren't going to be able to make that out on a single check. With time, you might be able to do more with that letter, but that's all the information you would get out of that.
Okay.
All right. So with that information, you can read it. Do you share it with Dark Oliver or the White Spirit?
Ooh, if I can stall for time and try and do that second check, because I think another part of Nora's personality is that she doesn't like giving out information unless she has the whole story.
Okay.
So it's not even like, oh,
so then if you're going to stall, it would not be diplomacy. Stalling would definitely be bluffing.
Okay. But she's not even, when I'm saying she's stalling, she's not bluffing. Like, she's like, I have some of the letter, but I can't make out the rest of this. Can I have some more time to figure out what is hidden here?
Oh, okay. So you're trying to actually negotiate more time.
Yeah, because I mean, if they say no, I can tell him what it says. But if he says sure, that gives me time to give him the complete story. I don't need this Dark Oliver going half-cocked because he only read the first part of the letter.
Yeah, like one that throws a lantern down the hall. You don't want that. So I feel that I will give you the scene of the White Spirit and the Burning Spirit outside Oliver, and I'll let you make a decision on how you want to handle this as Dark Oliver. The Burning Spirit hits its head against the glass once when she opens a letter, does it again enough to where it like warps the glass in and smokes it. And then when you look back, that spirit is no longer there. Nora, you don't see it there anymore either. Okay. The White Spirit steps up and in between Dark Oliver and Nora, trying to peer at the letter. And Nora, you can see her. She is semi-manifested.
Okay.
What would Dark Oliver do with that information?
I think Dark Oliver has his head kind of turn almost 100 degrees on his shoulders. His body's still facing the letter, but his head is cracked and popped as it rotates to look at the window where the spirit has come through. And then the body turns to follow the head and correct itself as he slowly takes a position of guard for the smoke spirit in particular, and the fire spirit that may or may not be inside now.
Okay.
His fingers come up to touch the gem, and he says, "It hurt. It hurt so much to have a book without an end. To have a book without an end lost to the flames."
I think with that, I need Nora to make me a will save.
Okay. That's bad.
Is it the Blackjack 14?
You know, I'll eat this. I got a 12.
A 12. Okay. So as that happens,
it's really
bad. Burns, the corpse that you have salted starts to smolder.
Okay.
The fume starts to fill the room. And Nora, you currently need to make sure I'm using the right term here. You currently are fascinated You take a -2 penalty on perception checks and skill checks, and you can't use actions with the concentrate trait unless they're related to the subject of your fascination. This condition ends if the creature takes hostile actions towards you or any of your allies. So right now, saying that they need that book to have a finish, you are definitely more entranced in this solution than you are the haunt. You have a -2 to do anything outside of solving this book that the Dark Spirit talks about. Now, you can still do all your other things. You can still try to solve the haunt. You can still try to figure out what type of ghost she is, but you're at a -2 unless it is related to the burning book. And that smoke is coming out from underneath the body.
Oh, son of a bitch. So yeah, I think that's what Nora actually says. So like, I don't know if the spirit thought that this was going to be a good idea to make Nora focus on that book, but Nora was going to check that book next.
Okay. All right. I'm just playing along. What makes sense.
I know. But that's why I said, like, I don't know if the spirit actually knows Nora that well. So Nora's like, you got to be kidding me. So she like leaves the letter because I think like as much as she wants to find out the rest of the letter, if that spirit is trying to make that book burn up, she wants that book. So she will leave the letter unattended to go try and rescue the book.
Okay. So as you go over to the book and the body is on top and the smoke is coming out and it's filling your eyes and your nose, being an abandoned, some of that stuff doesn't shake you as much, but it is obscuring some of your vision. You're used to having a life sight for creatures. And there was no life in this thing before. And now you do see a spark, a small, faint candlelight in this body. Standing right next to you in an instant is that white spirit as you touch the body, and its hands go on it as well. Oliver, actual Oliver, I unfortunately need you to make me a death save. You are at wounded 1, so remember how this works for your recovery rolls?
I don't actually remember.
I got it here. So right. You are currently wounded 1. That means you have a -1 to this roll.
So I need an 11.
It is a DC 10 plus your dying value, correct? And it's just a straight roll unless you have anything special versus being dying and recovery checks, which I don't think you do. So you're at 11 up.
He kind of begins kind of twitching and hyperventilating, but I think the spirit's head will turn to look at Oliver's body.
Okay.
As it begins shaking and convulsing with the possibility of a failure. And I'm going to spend a hero point as he try to resolve to keep himself anchored.
So you normally spend all of your hero points to stabilize, but in this case, I'll let you do a reroll with it if that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it was just a reroll.
Okay. You can do a reroll for this if you want. I'm fine with you wasting it that way for this because of the scene, but normally, to stabilize, you wipe all your hero points out.
Yep.
Yeah. If not, you're just at -2.
Hey man, if that book is the only way for us to get out of here, I don't want that getting burned up.
I don't think I'm ever going to spend hero points to reroll again. So as the spirit's head turns towards Oliver, and there's the moment where Oliver tries to restrain himself, the spirit opens its mouth wide, and that bond pulls Oliver and rips out part of his essence as I roll in that 1, which is 2 wounds closer to death.
Oh God. Oliver is at
wounded 3.
1 more, you toast.
At this point, the face of the spirit now has hair that kind of coalesces into Oliver's ponytail. The black goo begins taking shape of the vestments and the clothing that he wears, and the actual fusion of his rapier turns into a hand as he sheaths the blade into a sheath of goo. And he's becoming vastly more defined.
When that happens, the white spirit looks at the body and then turns and looks at Oliver and moves its hands from the corpse and reappears half standing in the Dark Oliver, like symmetrically split. And you can see an after image as Oliver, the Dark Oliver, moves, the white spirit moves with. So, Nora, what would you like to do?
Never
Besides
using
say,
hero
fuck
points
you,
for that
Oliver.
again. Yeah, I'm not using hero points ever again. That fucking sucked.
You got one left?
I mean, I guess at this point, because I feel like I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was getting the letter resolved to try and help settle the haunt a little bit.
You still feel that way. You're not failing. You're 100% are still doing the right thing.
Then yeah, I think. Can I roll to see what that white spirit is trying to do?
You sure can.
All right.
I was waiting for that Kelly Shadowrun moment where she's like, God, is anyone going to do this?
Like, all right, I guess I'm going to roll to try and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, give me that roll. Give me that roll.
Would it be occult or perception or...
whatever it would be to sense motive. I think it's perception.
It'd be perception.
Yeah.
I got a 22.
22. And you have that -2 right now.
Okay, so then that's a 20.
But the DC is a 20.
Okay.
So as you see it, you can tell that this spirit is trying to make the decision of, do I go with the book and what's going on? Like, am I ready to rest? Or do I want to possess something and continue on? And if this ectoplasmic dark ooze manifests and takes all of Oliver and becomes real, she would have the perfect body to possess, because it can't fight back, giving her life again.
Okay. So then based on that, can I grab the book and then try and talk to her?
Using it as like a focus?
Kinda, like, because
Sure.
I wanna get the book in part to help break this fascination a little bit. I don't know if that's how it will work, but that's
You grab
like
the
now
book.
that she's actually got it in her hands.
Okay, so when you grab the book and pull it away, the smoldering is coming from the cover and around it. It looks like when you throw water on a bonfire to put it out. It's that icky, stinky, wet smoke, and it's cloying and clinging. And when you pull it out, the smoking is still going. The book is not burned, but it is warm to the touch. When you pull it out from underneath, opposite of you, you see that face burning version where the head's on fire and its hand is touching the other side of the book.
Okay.
The white spirit is watching and the burning faced spirit is touching it. And you realize that is definitely where the heat source is coming from. I need Nora to further her investigation and the haunt. How would you investigate and piece this scene together? What skill would you want to use to do it? And then I'm going to probably need a Dark Oliver reaction to it.
I think it would be perception.
Okay.
Because that's like basically the sense motive. And I don't know if they would have to roll against my DC, which would currently be a 20. Or if I have to roll against them.
Ooh,
but I
yeah,
want to
roll
see like
high.
what the relationship is between everything here. Like,
Sure.
I have this book.
Would society make more sense?
Well, society really is just like,
Or occult, because you're piecing together a haunt?
maybe we can do occult.
Like
I would
occult
say
makes
either
more sense.
occult or perception, because like I said, I'm trying to piece together the relationships.
Sure.
And if they're not rolling against me, then I'd be rolling against them. And I think occult would probably be best.
Yep, I would say occult makes sense for this part of it.
Okay. Do I still have that -2 from the fascinate, or did
Yes,
that go
but
away
if you
because
get
I
this,
have?
the fascination will go away.
Okay, if I get it, it's okay. So
Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, you'll break it if you get one more here. Check will take this fascination away.
okay, I need to take this fascination away. I'm spending another hero point. I'm very glad I did. So with the -2, I'm at a 26.
Okay.
I got a 19 on the die.
That is really good. So, I mean, you can't.
Why can't I have that kind of luck?
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Well, it's also
So-
because it's a part of my investigation. I get a +1.
In
to my
the
occult.
flame, you see the face start to form, and it is the similar face to the white spirit. They're very similar looking. And at first you're like, oh, it must be the two sides of the spirit, right?
Okay.
But then as the flame starts to pull away, as you kind of take the book from the burning spirit, the fire extinguishes. It is a woman. She looks like she's in her 40s. She is dressed like a caretaker for maybe like the lawn or the outside. And then when a fire totally dies, you can see she looks like she is a carriage driver or probably drives the coaches and whatnot for the Everston. She has the long coat on. She has a cane at her hip. And then when the white image starts to shimmer and it comes into features, it looks like a maybe 5 to 10 year younger version of her.
Okay.
They're not identical, but they do look related. And in that moment, you realize there must be two people of the same bloodline here.
Okay.
Sisters, siblings make the most sense. A younger and an older. The burning is older. The one that is white trying to merge with Oliver is the younger. When this happens, there's a flicker of the spirit's auras. The white one has a aura that you're used to reading that is yellow and sick, and a flicker of red in the core of just like spite and hatred. When you read the letter, you kind of saw a little light, and when you touched the book, you saw a big amount of that light. And then the opposite side, that burning version, you get this bluish, calm, but very territorial and protective feeling from that fire burning one.
Okay.
Oliver, Dark Oliver, you can feel the white spirit trying to merge with the ectoplasm. I need Oliver to make me another roll for recovery at the 13, unless you're willing to spend it and just stabilize and hope Nora solves this before another roll against Oliver is needed.
I'm trying, man.
Can you make a 13, or do you just blow the rest of your hero points? And then Dark Oliver's reaction. Because you guys are tethered.
I'm actually going to start with Dark Oliver's reaction.
Okay.
The locket has popped out of Dark Oliver's throat.
Mm-hmm.
He's clutching it tightly in his left fist. His eyes linger from the book that Nora's holding, and they go back to the letter on the table. And now that the smoke has coalesced into actual eyes that match the color of Oliver's, there's the glint of recognition and longing in them, of wanting something. And the other hand that had held the saber comes up over the first to just clutch tighter that locket. And his head turns to look at the body of Oliver, and he says, in Oliver's crisp voice, I don't think I want to go back. It hurts too much. What I have lost, what I have taken from myself with my actions. I thought that they loved me, but they loved another instead. It caused me to grow angry, to make mistakes I otherwise would have not. With that, I have lost my family. With that, I have lost the confidence to go on. And I'll make my roll.
I would say let's see how this roll goes, because there might be some words being tossed.
Some shade.
Maybe.
Hey, got a 15.
So you stable at 3 right now. You see the breath in the body still there of actual Oliver in the corner. And now there's this like black ichor that you can see that is hit and like seeping through the floorboards all the way over to Oliver, and they are connected. Like an umbilical.
Okay.
The white spirit slides a little bit more into the ectoplasmic field, and you can see that it's almost combined, and when it moves there's like an after image of the female that you are believing to be Vonda. What do you want to do, Nora? Are you going to start flipping through the book? Are you going to study the book? I will tell you, it says Moldavia on the cover, and the date says oh boy, how would they word this? The date would say 3285. Which you know that this has to be a pre-sundering book.
Right.
Below it, on the spine, you notice that it says pre-sundering. It would be dated pre-sundering 35. So 35 years before the sundering.
Okay.
What would you like to do?
I have a lot of options. I have flipping through the book. I have yelling at Oliver as he gives up on life. Then I have this spirit that is trying to possess him. I think I'm going to try and flip through the book and see if I can catch anything about Vonda. See if there's anything that I can do to maybe snap her out of it and pull her attention back towards me.
Okay.
Could that be another occult or perception?
I would think to draw her gaze inside of Oliver back to you, to keep her busy instead of trying to do what she's doing, like which is merge.
Right.
I would think a diplomacy to keep her engaged.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do diplomacy, and as I look at her, Nora, my spirit goes from like the calm blue, and there's streaks of yellow going through Nora.
Okay.
I got 20, but I got 25. And as I'm talking with her, I'm like, I don't know if you want to do that, because I did that, and it's a very lonely existence.
I mean, and what did you say you got a total of?
25. I got
25.
19 on the dot.
I'm assuming that beats the wheel DC of Oliver. And then the spirit is a 25. So she stops and her face slides kind of out of that ectoplasm, and she says in a very angry, hollow voice, she says, "My sister moved here and she knew he was leaving me. I must find him. He must pay. He took my child from me. I moved here so we could have a life outside of Moldavia." And when she does that, you see the flame on the other spirit that is faded flicker and spark like the fire's trying to come back. And it's making eye contact with you. And then when she says that last line, with the spirit, "You knew."
Question.
Yes.
This has sparked something. So between the diplomacy that Nora gave the spirit and the spirit story that resonates with Oliver, can actual Oliver, make some kind of a save to temporarily speak through that conduit for the ooze?
Ooh, yeah, I would say I would need a will save probably to force through. I have my possession rules, so go ahead and try to break possession for a second. It's gonna be a little harder because you're breaking through the spirit's possession and trying to talk through the conduit. So good luck. How's that one?
It's not a 1. It's a 17. It's a 17.
So, Nora, you can see the face of the Dark Oliver twist, like unnatural twist, like actually, like someone took clay and fucking moved it. And one of the eyes sparks and looks like Oliver. Like it's an actual eye. It's not black. It's not murky. Oliver, I will give you... You made a 17. I will give you 6 words before the possession takes back over. He's counting. I can feel it.
I need my hand up here
Do
so
it.
that people know that I'm actually counting.
Okay.
He's like trying to piece this together. I can feel the pain. I almost talked about how I do possession, the new rules for PF2 possession I did, but I left that out of the last Under the Tide for this. Don't make me take words away.
To be fair, Oliver only has to like do this. I have to try and solve this haunt on my own.
I know. I know.
NVD.
Okay, Betrayal House in the Hill. No big deal. No big deal. What would Blue Demon do?
I got it.
All right, what is it?
Revenge is no salve. It's poison.
Ooh. Good callback. Nora, what do you want to do? And you know that was Oliver. You like
right.
You can feel it, and you can see Oliver's mouth move out of the corner of your eye.
Okay.
If you have any questions on the scene, need to reestablish anything, let me know.
No, it's we've got the white spirit who's younger and angry and yelling at her potentially older sibling. Started ranting about how he must pay. He took her child, and that the sister knew. And then Oliver says that. I kind of roll with it. I'm like, he's right.
And who are you talking to?
I think I'm talking to everybody, including myself.
Okay.
I'll send you a message in Roll20.
Sure. The fired face that is scorched and burned, and it's damaged so much now that it is materialized. It almost just looks like charred, like a burnt tree, like stuck to a skeleton. Yeah. And she, the woman who is the burning ember, goes, "Sister, I knew, but I protected you. I told you to go home. I told you to leave." And it takes a step towards Dark Oliver, and they are like arm's length. And she's like, "I told you to leave. I told you to go back home, not stay. And you refuse to leave your work. This is your fault, not mine." And she goes to make physical contact. Nora, I'd like to know what you do before I let Dark Oliver make a decision. Not with you, with the other spirit.
Right. So Oliver said revenge is no salve, it's poison. And then Nora says he's right. Vengeance leaves a hole that can't be filled. And if you stay, to try and fill that hole, you'll find that it's very lonely. And you'll miss things that you can't even remember as the years fade away. And then I think I go, and that being the case, I'm not going to let you use Captain Hastings as your vessel.
Okay.
Find someone else. And I'm going to activate my suspenders.
What would Blue Demon do?
And I'm going to
suplex a ghost.
I'm gonna I don't know if I should suplex the ghost or if I should try and grapple Oliver to get him away.
Oh, like separate him from the umbilical?
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
And not separate him from the umbilical. I'm saying separate Dark Oliver from her.
Oh, like actually try to rip the possession apart?
Forcefully?
Blue Demon, the...
I am running out of ideas. I am not a federer.
I know you're not. You have the book.
My diplomacy.
Yep.
I've got the book.
You've kept them calm. You've kept them... I'll tell you right now that you have made... You are 3 out of 5 needed to solve this haunt. 3 out of 5 checks. And I tell you what, if you separate, I'll give you a Blue Demon, a Blue Demon high five, and let that count as a point. But I'm also going to tell you the athletics check you're going to need to separate them is a 24.
Okay.
My God,
24.
This is not what I have written for this haunt.
No,
I'm with you.
Nora does have martial arts, so...
yeah. Go ahead, Ghost Foo. Let's see what you got.
Everyone keeps forgetting that. I'll take that 14 on the die. So, with the suspenders, I got a 24.
How does this look, Nora?
Oh my God. Okay, so I feel like, because from what Dark Oliver's seeing, it's like this ghostly visage that kind of looks like a person. I think that's what actually comes out of her body, as she does it, like it kind of like splits apart. And I think as she does it, it's Nora without the scars, looking much younger and dressed in like very, very sharp military clothing. Almost like a marshal.
Pre-sundering clothing?
Pre-sundering clothing. And she just kind of almost like breaking up a fight, like kind of like grabs Dark Oliver, pulls him aside, and then like stiff arms the White Spirit, not being like shoving her violently, but like kind of like a ma'am please, step back kind of thing. So I think it's kind of like that, like as she manifests.
So and it's that weird thing where it's like for the first time we've seen an actual representation of Nora as a spirit. That you make contact, and then your spirit hits, and it separates those two apart. When the woman sees that, there is a actual physical handprint from Nora on the White Spirit's chest, as it's like caved in, and she takes a deep breath, trying to like fill that gap, and it doesn't go away. You realize that you've actually like harmed her in the haunt. On top of that,
was not what I meant to do, but okay.
There's some things here. The body on the table, like, collapses. Like, the body that was hers originally crunches. And Zana, the sister, goes, "You were named by me, by Zana. I am your sister. Stop fighting us. Your husband. You don't understand how much time has passed. The only one left alive is your son. Terry is still here. Stop fighting."
What?
And I think, at least for now, I think like at least for now, like younger Nora is still there in her military press, dusting her gloved hands off.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Ma'am, Vonda, if your son is the postmaster, like I guess I'd be like, ma'am, I believe your older sister is telling the truth. There is a gentleman named Terry. He was one of the few survivors of Merrifield. He made it. He is still alive.
Zana, looking forward, you see a ghostral image of Zana, the sister, the older one, turn out of that burnt crust. You see a woman, like I said, in her 40s. She has a pretty deep cut that goes down the side of her face across her jaw. No blood, but the wound is visible. She turns and looks at you, and you can like feel more of a connection of Zana looking at your spirit, not your physical form after you did that. She says, Terry is her youngest. She has 3 kids. It's why she moved here. When she came here, Terry was maybe 2 months old. She had him when she visited last to Moldavia. And as she breathes deep, you see the fireplace go and start to burn behind her. And you see the body of Zana collapse. The white image of the ghost is gone. And standing at the table is the white spirit, arms manifesting, shoveling her own body into the fireplace. Dark Oliver, there's a separation for a moment. Oliver is there. You're able to speak as Oliver from your actual body as you wake. 1 hit point, wounded. Dark Oliver, the body still looks like it does. The attachment is still there. I'm going to give Alan a choice to think about here for a minute. If you fail the save to awaken to this 1 hit point, as you're like gasping for breath and you can feel the life essence being pulled from you. If you fail this save, Oliver dies. Dark Oliver lives. Your choice what you want to do with that. Or if you make this save, you will separate the umbilical. I just want you to think about how you want to handle that. If you're going to make a save, you're going to spend your hero point, how you want to do that. Nora, you see him take a deep breath. You see Dark Oliver's body kind of compress. You see the white spirit going to burn her corpse that you have salted. I would need an occult roll for you to kind of take in the room as a non-federer and figure out what is going on.
Okay. I'm spending my last hero point. Holy shit. Can't be worse than a nat 1.
I mean, God, the information I would have gave you.
That is much better. I got a 25.
Okay, you need a 20 for the haunt. You have got the last haunt point. What you realize she is doing is she has made a strong enough connection to take that ectoplasmic Dark Oliver body. She no longer needs her. By burning it, it will release her bond with the body and allow her to take Dark Oliver. She is a revenant. Revenants need a host to become material, and they can basically do whatever a normal mortal person would do. But they need a corpse that works and a body that works. That one doesn't. She is burning it to separate herself and rebond. It would be like it's almost how an abandoned bonds to their body to be safe before they become an abandoned. She's switching bodies. Burning it means bye-bye Oliver. Salting it is the right move, though. You did do the right thing by salting it. What would Nora like to do?
If she's still, I can't believe I'm saying this. If she's still solid-ish, or at least where I can affect her.
Her whole upper half is.
Okay, well, I still have another 8 or 9 rounds.
Are you going to punch a spirit?
No, I'm just going to...
or grapple a spirit?
Grapple her and drag her away from shoveling her body into the fireplace.
Okay, that will lower Oliver's DC.
So younger Nora let me roll first, and then we'll describe how this goes down. Because this
You're right. It
not
might
go
actually
very
make
well.
it worse.
It might actually make it worse.
You're grappling, so that's versus my athletics DC, correct?
No, her fort save DC.
Oh, my fort save DC? Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. 10 plus a fort bonus.
Okay, that's 20.
Okay, so the DC was a 24, but you have beaten the haunt points down. Every haunt point lowers DCs involved by the ghost. You've lowered it by 5. That puts it at a 19. So as you grapple her, what do you do? What does it look like, and what do you do? And then I'm going to have Oliver make his decision.
Right. So young Marshall Nora runs over again, and then again, kind of like how I was describing, like she wasn't trying to hurt her, more like
you definitely did not
her.
mean to harm her. It's just contact.
So again, she is trying to just restrain her, like, ma'am, I know this is like, I know what you're trying to do, but this isn't how this is going to go. I need you to calm down, and like basically kind of go around and like grab her and like pull her away, kind of like trying to pull like a hysterical person away from a scene of a crime or something. That's what Nora's trying to do.
Sure, makes total sense. Oliver, inside that connection between you two, you get a flash of what actually happened in this scene. Why the room is the way it is, why the animosity between the two sisters are the way they are. And I'm going to describe this cinematically, I think, and then I'll let you kind of decide what you want to do. The woman that is on top of the table is the sister. The younger one that is the librarian. She was having a conversation with somebody sitting to her left. It's shadowy. You can't see it. She was definitely in tears, and she's reading a letter facing the fireplace, and it is sitting on top of a book. She set the book down on the table. The fire from the fireplace exploded, and this is the moment where something must have happened in the Everston Manor, as the entire room burst into flames. She turned, covered the letter and the book, and fell on the table. Part of the rock from the force of the explosion from the basement hit her in the head, and that is why you have the twist and the neck break. That goes across the room. When it goes across the room, it hits the wall. That wall, standing there, looking at the books, is Zana, the sister. She is speaking with 2 other people, saying, "Yes, sir, I have all your luggage ready. We are ready to go. My husband and I will be happy to take you." And then the explosion fills the room. When the explosion starts to die down and the fires is burning in the room, people are screaming, trying to get out. You see Zana crawling across the ground to get to her sister at the table. Her sister, semi-conscious, neck fucked up, and in the state of death, says, "You knew, you didn't tell me." She's like, "I know, but we have to get out of here. It'll be fine." And the light fades from the younger sister's eyes on the table as she dies. The other sister, trying to get out, her legs broken from now that you can see the ceiling above is collapsed. And as you look up in the room, as the camera looks, there are holes in the floor from other things that have fallen through. There's debris, as I described, all over this place from the building burning. Zana was in this building as it went down. Burning. She got her legs crippled from the bookshelf that is missing on the wall. It fell over on her. There's a bookshelf laying on the floor. More than likely, that is actually where Zana's body is. When the second explosion happened, her spirit was separated and sent outside. Very similar to what happened to Everston and Voss. Oliver, on the ground, this connection, there's this like, almost like a quick boom, 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 boom of images popping through your head. And you can see Nora piecing the puzzle together too as she pulls the white spirit away from the body, trying to burn her own. You can see the bookshelf on the ground shaking as if something is trying to move it. The haunt stops. But that dark Oliver is still standing there as everything kind of settles. And the images I described, Nora can see the bookshelf has stopped shaking. And the hand that was underneath, the ghostful one, stops. The fire underneath it in the burnt part of the bookshelf stops. Oliver is breathing faintly. Dark Oliver is breathing faintly, and you are hugging a spirit that is now reaching for the Dark Oliver body. Oliver, I need to know if you want to make a saving throw and come out of this unscathed, or if you want to spend a hero point and come out with a issue but be alive. But no risk. No risk. You will survive, but there will be some memory stains and some issues with Oliver. Or would you rather make the roll of 13, the same number, and be totally fine when the haunt ends? Make save, possibly die, spend hero point, be alive, but at a cost.
Taking the camera from you for a little bit, Eric. As that scene played out in Oliver's eyes, and Oliver on the floor was watching Shadow Oliver while the scene kind of played out, kind of like in the Fade in Dragon Age where the cinematic moment is going around, time's kind of slowing as Shadow Oliver is taking steps closer to Oliver. While the fireplace explodes, the brick comes out, twists the head, it goes right past Shadow Oliver's head to hit the bookshelf and cascade those events, while Shadow Oliver's foot is pushing in a very mirrored fashion Oliver's shoulder to kick him onto his back. As Shadow Oliver's foot steps onto Oliver's chest, and Shadow Oliver draws his blade to point it at Oliver's neck. And Shadow Oliver looks at Oliver and he says, "I'm the pain that you can't escape. I'm the pain that follows you. Just give in. You know. You know." And there's like a moment where Oliver's hand kind of like weakly comes up, shaking to grasp at the sword. And there's like a resolve that wasn't there since he met Nora. A resolve that is there that wasn't there since before Edward died. And as he's been kind of excised of all these negative emotions, for the first time in years, he sees clearly at the disgusting conglomeration of all the emotions that he's been feeling for so long. And weakly he says, "No, revenge is a poison, and it must be dealt with an antidote." And I'll roll.
Okay, I will let you roll. You can use that hero point for a reroll if you need it. You need a 13 up. Let's go, Oliver. Sunburst doesn't want you to play Terry.
I mean, I thought he was going to get a bonus because I was able to stop her.
Yes.
Oh,
he
okay.
had a choice instead of just making the roll.
My bad. All right.
That's a 2. Here's my hero point.
Oh, jeez. Alan,
Here's my last hero point.
swear to God, if you die.
Todd did draw art of him.
True.
I'm a sucker for like dramatic moments. That was really appropriate.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Is Oliver gonna die?
I rolled an 11.
Is that with your bonuses?
What bonuses?
It's oh no, you're making a will save.
Oh, 18. 18.
Okay.
I was like, what?
You're making a will save for the haunt right now to end and you not be absorbed into it. So as a deep breath comes from Oliver and you see that black ichor like sludge down and slide to the floor, and as like it's stepping on you, you see Dark Oliver start to fall apart and pieces hit the floor and sink into the floor panels and fall. And laying next to Oliver, mirrored like two people, is the same exact way Oliver is laying, but a dark shadow, like ichor, stained to the floor. Oliver, you don't have any penalties coming out of this. If you would have went with the recovery version, anytime you were in a haunt, all DCs would be 2 harder forever, because you are now something that spirits are attracted to. You fought it off. That does not happen to you. Nora, with this spirit that you have and you're holding, it just starts crying. like sobbing, saying, I left Octavian back in Moldavia, and I had another kid. What was I thinking? And you can feel Zana's hand on your shoulder, Nora, and on hers. And the camera would kind of look through at the two of them. The burning that is around is actually a big fur coat and big collar that you see in Moldavia. It's what you use to block the wind and the cold. And that, you're guessing, was what you were seeing ignited when she was a spirit. She says, sis, I understand, but you gotta let it go. Your husband moved on, but your kid is alive. Let these people help you. Stop fighting. With that, Nora, you see, you are holding the book still? Did you put it down? Where is the book in all of this?
I mean, if we're going with the fact that Nora kind of separated from her body for this, then the book is actually still like in normal Nora's hands.
Normal's hands. So, is you're holding her, and I think it kind of slides you two back together. Your spirit, Nora, and you. In your hands, she gets absorbed in the cover of the book and into the book, and the book goes from that smoldering to just being normal. The dirt kind of cleans away from it as this book of Moldavian pre-sundering history becomes her reliquary. On the face of it, there's a mirror, and you can see her face looking back at you. She says, thank you. And standing next to her in that portrait is Zana fading away. And you feel the hand disappear from you. You see the bookshelf that was slightly raised off the ground that is pinning her finally cease and touch down. And I think we're going to end it there as Nora can look back out the window and you see Everston and Voss. There's snow on the ground. And you see two spirits standing next to them with bandanas on their face, looking and pulling the shutters apart, trying to get into the room. Time has passed. A lot of time has passed. Nora, it was going to be 9 days that you were in here. But because of the checks and the time that is involved, it has been 25 days that you've been locked in the manor, fixing this one haunt.
Okay.
Wow.
I need Nora to give me a last check before we end this side quest, as she's piecing together what is going on in the actual place. Do you have anything for history or a lore?
I don't have anything. What I do have is recall knowledge, where I can make any recall knowledge check that I'm not trained in. I can make it with my class as my bonus instead of a 0.
Okay. Give me that roll. As
Okay.
Nora is starting to piece shit together.
3, 6.
Just picture the meme with like all the numbers.
I think this took so much out of her, and actually like being what she used to be, she doesn't piece it together. I got a 2 on the die.
Okay. As you're trying to piece it together, exhaustion hits. And exhaustion for an abandon is that moment where the spirit just sinks and your body just says no. And you see Nora collapse as the camera cuts. And that's it for our side quest today. We will pick this up in some downtime for us between it. 25 days. Merrifield's got some shit to build.
Yeah, they do.
So I marked
I was
this
there.
down. Behind the scenes, I will give you some explanation on why so much time passed and what we're going to do. But that's it for the side quest, everybody. I love doing these. They are super fun. We get to do some crazy shit. Oliver got to play Dark Oliver. Little hearken to Link there for everybody. And thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And long live Terry.
Long live Terry.
Terry.
Did it. We saved him.
Have a good night. Or day.
Day. Whatever. Wherever you're at. Have a good one.
Wherever you are.